Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 10 of Fire When Ready. I'm your host Alex Corey, and on this podcast I talk about my thoughts on all things geeky, being the world of movies, TV, comics, because it really is just that awesome. So yes, I've been on the show again has been on a hiatus. I've been a little busy with life with my IRL job and just dealing with some personal stuff, I'd say. But yeah, just I guess wanted to put this podcast to bed again and recharge and make sure I give you guys the best content out there. But yeah, it's always a good thing to do that, to just recharge and come back bigger and better than ever. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened in the world of entertainment, a lot of controversial stuff in a way. So yes, really big show just ended about last week as I'm recording this. Game of Thrones, my favorite show of all time, has finally ended. Now our watch has ended. Yeah, it's crazy to think that, considering the show's been on for as long as it was, and I didn't watch it from the beginning. If you've been following me on Instagram, I said that when I did a little reaction to after the series finale. You can go watch that if you'd like, but I'll basically talk about it here. But basically I said, I didn't really catch up with the show until season 7 was airing. A little before I think season 7 aired, I started watching it from the beginning and I just binged it. And then when season 7 ended, that's kind of when I was all getting all caught up, and finally saw it. And yeah, I really was amazed, just how much effort went into that show. And, I've never seen television shows directed with that scale, at such a scale, and, have that kind of, and just, build this whole new world, and just introduce thousands upon thousands of characters. It was just world building at its finest, and even though the fantasy elements are awesome and it's what definitely drew me into it, it just, you couldn't believe how interested you were in just the regular characters. But enough about that. This isn't really going to be a Game of Thrones breakdown. This is just kind of what's surrounding Game of Thrones. What's something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and something that I'm trying to understand. I'm kind of like Indiana Jones trying to find that artifact somewhere, trying to find that golden idol at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. If I have to make a specific reference, it doesn't really matter at this point. But yeah, so to say Game of Thrones, the season 8 finale, or the final season 8, has been controversial is an understatement. People have been very vocal about it, about the show, how the series concluded in and of itself, and some things that happened that didn't gel with a lot of people. And yeah, it's to say the very least, it really seems like people are nitpicking rather than enjoying it. And to be fair, there are people out there that I've seen online that are saying it's great. The writing, people appreciate what David and Dan have been doing on the show, from a writing perspective. And personally, I've been appreciating all that they've done too. But and you can't deny that the production, just what went into making the episodes, from cinematography, production design standpoint, the concept art that brought all that to brought the production design to life, all the visual effects, the designs of everything, guys. It's mind-blowing, especially for television, how far we've gotten with small-scale television shows that maybe were on a lower budget. And Game of Thrones started out that way, it was a low-budget show, not really a lot of big bombastic action sequences until, way after the fact. But yeah, it's just mind blowing, like what goes into these shows nowadays, and how cinematic they're able to make them. Like Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings level. It's insane. But yeah, we're at that point now. But yes, people have been vocal, and it seems like there's a lot more nitpicking than actually enjoying something. But yeah, I mean, it's really sad to see that in a way. Because I mean, people are going as far as to making a petition to remake season 8, even though all the hard work, like, people are just forgetting about all the hard work that went into the show to create the wonderful art that it was. Yeah, I feel like there hasn't been really as much enjoyment nowadays, and I'll get into that more in depth momentarily. But to preface that, I actually wanted to share with you guys something that I took to Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at AlexJCorey. That's AlexJCrey. If you follow me there, I posted a picture. It was from someone basically made a meme. It was from The Princess Bride, and it was the whole how, like, Princess Bride intercut with the child, with the grandfather reading the child the story, the child being played by Fred Savage, and so someone posted this image, and it was Fred Savage from the movie saying that the first picture in the meme is Fred Savage with a caption saying, "I'm telling you, you're messing up the story. Now get it right." And then you cut to the grandfather, but in place of the grandfather is Peter Falk is the grandfather. In place of him is George R. R. Martin, and he says to Fred Savage, "You're taking this very seriously. I think maybe we should stop now." And as funny and hilarious as it is, because fans can be crazy on the internet, maybe that's an understatement as well, really spoke to me in a way, and it actually compelled me to kind of write a little something that I actually want to share on the podcast. Even though if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, I already wrote all this, but I feel like I should kind of repeat it just to let it sink into some people. And so I wrote this, and I titled it "Fandom in a Nutshell." So after the image, I wrote all this down, and because I felt like it was on my heart, and I just wanted to talk about it. So, fandom in a nutshell. After movies like The Last Jedi premiered and the latest Game of Thrones episodes aired, I found it can be less fun on social media now because of such divisiveness. I legitimately do think people have forgotten how to enjoy stories. People don't have to like everything, but the manner in which people are giving their criticisms feel toxic. There's a lot more nitpicking than actually looking for the positives, and more importantly, having fun. Regardless of what you may or may not think of these franchises, you have to admit it's been heartbreaking. Isn't being a fan of a franchise about celebrating it rather than tearing it down? If you don't enjoy a franchise, or if you don't enjoy a franchise anymore, there's always the next thing. So if you are watching, reading, or playing something and are complaining and wasting so much energy on that, just stop investing time into it. Reflect on other things that make you happy, and guess what? It doesn't have to be movies or TV shows. I'll be enjoying the stories that I want to enjoy, and since I want the magic to be kept alive, you're going to see less of me on social media. I do hope to post more content, and I will give my thoughts on various films and shows from time to time, including the Game of Thrones series finale. But just thought I'd use this space to post my thoughts. I don't want to argue about any movie or show, this is just how I feel. Thanks, love you, and remember to have fun. So yeah, I felt the need to write all that down, because it's what's been on my mind and heart lately. So yeah, and obviously I mentioned that I was gonna post thoughts about stuff on social media, and I still plan on doing that, and I did up for the Game of Thrones series finale, which I just previously mentioned. I actually did do that, but yeah, isn't it? It has been a heartbreaking, because fans really, it's not a matter of that fans haven't been negative before. And I'm sure even when, let's say, the original Star Wars trilogy came out, I'm sure people, it's gotten a lot of praise over the years. The Empire Strikes Back, for instance, I'll just use that as an example for now. I'm sure people didn't there were things in it people didn't like, and people probably were disappointed. And I think it did have a mixed reaction from critics in its day, because it left on the whole big cliffhanger, and people had to wait 3 years for Return of the Jedi. But the thing is that nowadays there's the internet, and people use the internet now to be more vocal. I mean, back then people probably had I believe people published in magazines, fan related magazines about their thoughts about various films and shows, and maybe stuff they didn't like and stuff they maybe absolutely loved. And even the critics in writing in a newspaper column saying this terrible fantasy dribble or whatever they say, which is probably really stupid. But it's what's interesting is there was I have notes here, guys, and I'm kind of going all over the place. I really don't care. But yeah, so I actually was, because I wanted to do a little bit of research, I kind of wanted to see what other people were saying online about how I've been feeling about if people have forgotten maybe to enjoy films and shows. And I actually saw this Reddit thread about someone who felt the same way as I did. He started this thread about how people, if people have forgotten to enjoy movies and shows, considering, Star Wars The Last Jedi being one of those movies that kind of, amped up that sort of idea. I mean, I'm sure there's been, because there has been discussions before about how people weren't really so big on certain movies and certain decisions that were made in the screenwriting process. And we're gonna probably continue to see that, unfortunately. But this is just one comment I found on this Reddit thread that really stuck out to me. Unfortunately, I can't credit the user because it said that the account was deleted, but this really stuck out to me, and I couldn't 100,000% agree with this. So I found this comment on there that says, "The internet has made the whole world cynical, and now everybody is a critic. Everybody nitpicks everything, and no one enjoys anything anymore." And guys, I gotta agree with him. It's really sad because the internet has made the world cynical, and now since people have this space now where they can post anything they want, and I mean anything, any comments, any long-winded post, any picture, any video, the internet is now a space where people can say whatever they want when they want, and no one has to keep it inside. And maybe that's put something out there through another source. The internet is just an open space, and heck, I'm kind of doing the same thing right now. I'm recording an audio file, and I'm posting an episode of my podcast online right now, and it's great. The internet can be a great positive place in a way where you can post whatever you want. You can post, and I do think people can post really great positive things, really inspirational things, and the internet can be a sanctuary at times. Yet I feel I sort of feel as if the bad is outweighing the good in a way, and I shouldn't say that as someone who's trying to be a little more positive on the internet. And yeah, so because of that, I had to delete apps on my phone. And because I'll still post, but I've been trying to go on my news feeds very rarely because it's either someone's nitpicking this or that, or someone having a political argument. I try not to get political on here, by the way. Yeah, it legitimately, because I had to delete those apps, not the accounts, just the apps, I feel that they've legitimately depressed me and angered me. And it's not like you don't have to like everything. People don't have to like everything. People might not enjoy certain things anymore, and that's fine. You could always, I've said it in a podcast a while back, there's always the next thing. And I even said it in that Instagram post, you can always find another thing to enjoy, if it's another movie, book, series, show, or just another hobby in general. I used to do movie reviews. I used to have a blog, and I still post to my blog. I just don't do as many written standard movie reviews anymore. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm a critic. I don't do those and don't do reviews anymore. But I like what I'm mostly into, and because I'm doing podcasting now, is because I'm more into discussions and thoughtful analyses. And I like to look at it, and analyses I like to look at from, like, positive analyses, I should say. Yeah, I just kind of like looking at the point of view where it's like, oh, that's really interesting that the artist went there, or like, say if you're watching another sequel in a franchise, like you're like, and there's like certain choices being Last Jedi, for instance, like, it's like, oh, that's interesting that a character developed this way, and we're having a little bit of there's a little bit of humor now, and it's like, oh, it's like another side of this franchise I haven't seen before, and that's kind of like where I want to, how I want to go into these movies and shows now, like I just want to appreciate, what the artist is going for, and yeah, I try not to go in with expectations, and I appreciate what the artist has to offer and why they made their decisions. I try to look at it from, the artist's perspective, like why they wanted to tell their story that way. I have a respect for the artist because I've helped make short films before. I've worked on student films and been on those kinds of sets, and I've edited stuff, and yeah, I know the hard work that goes into it, and I'm actually, I won't go into details, but I'm actually writing a screenplay, and don't know if I'm going to do anything big with it, but I'm writing a feature screenplay just for kicks, and because, it's just something I wanted to dabble in and try, and I've really been enjoying it, because, I've been watching stuff that's made me want to pursue that interest. It just inspired me and to want to create, and like just, and not that I was ever sought out to be a writer. But I always did think to myself, maybe if I did have an idea, that I would write it all down and do something with it. But yeah, I know, basically I'm trying to say, I know the hard work that goes into it, and if I feel, not just like, just in my mind, but in my heart, where I want a story to go, I'll do it. And if I like it, that's very important. Like, sometimes creators won't make things for the audience. They'll probably do it for themselves because they most importantly, you don't want to think what everybody else thinks. You want to make sure that you appreciate it and you love it, as if you were maybe going into a cinema and watching this movie that you created. Like, would it give you that same impression? But yeah, so yeah, I have respect for the artist, and what also rang a bell was when by the way, Ken Napzok, by the way, is like probably one of my favorite podcasters on here. He's kind of been one of my inspirations for creating this show. And if you're listening, Ken, thank you very much for everything you do. You are an important voice in the world of entertainment. He also released a book recently, Why We Love Star Wars, and I started reading it. It's fantastic, especially if you're a fan of Star Wars and haven't read it yet, check it out. But I remember one time I was listening to one of his podcast episodes, and he said something along the lines of why he doesn't like fan edits, because I think this was around the time when someone did an edit of the Star Wars prequels, a fan edit, where he like took some things out, he condensed the films, and he like changed like the dialogue of like the Trade Federation characters and like made them sound like actual aliens with subtitles, and it was a clever idea, I'll give him that. But the thing that I remember Ken saying was like he didn't really like what fan edits did, because it's like saying, it's like it's like somebody else saying to the director who's worked hard on it, I can do it better. And that really stuck with me in a way, because yeah, it's like a lot of, like what I said before, it's like a lot of people kind of forget like the amount of work and effort that goes into these projects, and we do tend to forget that. We just kind of watch the movie and then finish that movie, and then just call it a day, and then never speak of it again, or maybe we'll speak about it or maybe talk about it for a little while, and then we just never go back to it again. And yeah, but it's like you gotta realize that people work hard on these things, and people spend so much time. They put blood, sweat, and tears, hours upon hours, into whatever task they sought out to accomplish. And people on the internet just say everything's ruined, it's terrible, it's not what it should be. But really, these fans do not have a say in all of it. They don't. It's really what the creators want to do and what kind of stories they want to tell. And yeah, I can understand the fan edit perspective. Maybe people do want to, maybe they are inspired by that original work and they want to do something different with it. But yeah, at the same time, it is like, are you trying to say that the original artists aren't good enough and shouldn't do what they do and shouldn't go out there and create and maybe possibly inspire other people to pursue their own endeavors? I mean, you could say I'm reading too much into it, but still at the same time, it's like saying that the people who worked on these things are also wasting time on it because they're not making what you want to see. I mean, if you want your own stories to be told and told the way you want them to be told, just write your own fan fiction. Just make your own movies. It's like, yeah, it's like people have forgotten people have forgotten how to appreciate artists and what they do. And yeah, and I want to just go into these movies and shows just appreciating what artists have to offer and enjoying these movies and TV shows, and I'll even bring books and comic books and video games into this. I just want to appreciate what the kinds of art that they want to create and just enjoy it for what it is. That's just the point. Isn't that the point of it? Just to enjoy it, to have fun? I think so. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about any of this stuff. So, yeah, I really can't stress it enough. I mean, yeah, but for the record, I mean, we don't have to like everything. If people liked I'm not trying to say people have to like everything. But I mean, I do want people to kind of open their eyes a bit and see, and to have them understand, hey, maybe something didn't register with you, and maybe you didn't like it, and that's cool. But you gotta appreciate what went into these things. You gotta appreciate the artists. You gotta appreciate all the blood, sweat, and tears, and everything. Just everything that went into it. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's it is hard work. As someone who's worked on these kinds of projects before, it's not easy. It's people just don't crank out movies like that, like Thanos snapping his fingers. No. If the film industry worked like that'd be awesome. I mean, I wish I could make a big budget fantasy film with a snap of my fingers. That'd be awesome. But it takes years, and people work on these things, not being able to see their families. And this actually brings me back to something that I watched last night as I'm recording this. So after the week after the series finale of Game of Thrones aired, HBO aired this 2-hour documentary about the making of the final season, and my goodness, even though I loved the season for what it was, I do love the season. I really did love the season. Even though I loved the season, that documentary just makes you appreciate it more. Just, like how long it must have taken to build those sets. You know, I mean, because people forget that, you know, there were actual, I mean, a lot of it, there are some wonderful green screen effects in it and a lot of beautiful visual effects, but, like, yeah, people tend to forget, like, there's a lot of, like, you know, practical sets put in place, and, like, you know, just the construction involved, and, you know, the makeup as well, like, so much amazing makeup in it, and, you know, everything takes time, and just everything, just every aspect of the filmmaking, production making process, and yeah, guys, it's just important to know that there's just so much that goes into it. And yeah, for the record, I mean, people don't have to like everything. It's just people just need to open their eyes. Like, you don't have to like everything. I mean, it would be a really boring place if people just liked everything. But, yeah, I mean, certainly there are movies I don't enjoy. I mean, what comes to mind are the recent Transformers movies, specifically the fourth and the fifth one. I believe they were Age of Extinction and The Last Night. Didn't enjoy those. Didn't enjoy Amazing Spider-Man 2, the Emoji Movie. Because, I mean, you could say, like, well, you're being hypocritical. You're talking trash about these movies, but you're saying to like these movies. And I'm like, you don't have to like, I mean, I'm a human being. I don't like, there are things I don't enjoy. And I just didn't enjoy these movies because I felt those movies in particular that I just mentioned kind of missed the point on what movies are, because I feel like they were, I mean, the pacing caused the films to be dull, and that they were mostly just scenes strung together, and they didn't give the viewer compelling stories or characters. They just felt like, a bunch of randomness strung together, and it just was made to sell a product, and there wasn't just a lot of thought that went into it. That's when I feel I don't enjoy the movies and shows as much, as if they didn't feel like there was much structure to them, and just not a lot of imagination going into it. And that's where I feel like it doesn't become enjoyable. But I feel like with Game of Thrones and like, or Star Wars or Marvel or even some of the DC stuff, like, I feel like these franchises have so much creativity in them that, you know, people just tend to forget, and we just kind of focus on, and people just focus on expectation and what they wish to see. And, you know, I even though I don't really respect like the movies like that, I still respect the people who made them. And who knows, maybe they're proud of what they did for the studio, and maybe they felt they did a good job, and they're gonna help the studio earn the money, because, you know, it's not all just about the art. I mean, it is a corporate world, and these movies just make money so a business can thrive. It's about, you know, it's a business deal. And you know what? I might understand why certain movies have flaws in terms of screenwriting and and from a filmmaking perspective. Every movie makes mistakes. No movie's perfect. But that doesn't stop me from enjoying them. I still love watching them for what they are. And I'm going to continue to do so, because I just want to have fun. Really, guys, I just want to have fun. And really, I don't think I could have stressed that enough. You know, it can be a long creative process to make these things, but please, if you're one of those people that's just been hating on something, maybe look at it from another perspective. That's what I certainly did. I tried to look at, like, I recently I revisited The Phantom Menace, and I watched it from a totally different perspective, and it changed the way I looked at that film. Not a perfect movie, obviously, but I wanted to look at it from another perspective, where I try to take away, you know, there's all this crap over here about people ragging on it, and boy, have people gotten down and dirty on The Phantom Menace and the Star Wars prequels in general, but I tried to look at it from a different point of view and try to understand what kind of story George Lucas was trying to tell, and I appreciated it for what it was. I really did. I actually really enjoyed watching the film. So yeah, I think there's a matter of what kind of mindset people have to go into when viewing a film or show or reading a book or a comic book or playing a game. I really do think there's like a certain kind of mindset you can go into it. Like you can be completely open-minded, which is what I do, or you could go in having these expectations, wishing certain things would happen, and yeah, you could go into it like that, but you might be disappointed, because I certainly was. I mean, I had fan theories and expectations going into The Force Awakens, and even though I enjoyed the movie after I saw it the first time, I was a little let down, but then I saw it again and accepted it for what it was. So, there you go. What I'm trying to say is, you might not like everything, and if you don't like something, totally fine. I'm not just trying to sway anybody's opinion here. If you disliked something in a show or movie, then that's cool, guys. You're free. You're allowed to like and dislike anything. You're allowed to think whatever you want. That's awesome. But I'm just gonna try to enjoy movies, shows, the entertainment world. I'm just gonna try to enjoy all those things, all those stories for what they are, because I just want to have some fun. So that was probably that was a big tangent, and that's fine. But yeah, this is just kind of a nice shoot the breeze podcast. I'm not doing this professionally. I'm recording on a damn blue snowball in my room, So yeah, hey, if you guys feel the same way, be sure to about how I'm feeling, be sure to be open, let's start a discussion in the comment section. Be kind. That's what's very important. If you're listening on YouTube or whatever platform, yeah, let's keep this conversation going and try to spread some positivity around, and try to appreciate the creators more than just like, that's not what I wanted to see, and hey, you're allowed to give your opinion and all that, but just try to, maybe it's not a matter of what's being said, it's how it's being said. So, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you guys so much for listening. I didn't intend for this episode to be as long as it was, 33 minutes. Well, maybe that's not so bad. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, if you're listening on iTunes, be sure to rate and review. If it's a 5-star podcast, give me some 5 stars. It's really no big deal. I'm doing this for fun. I'm really just doing this kind of as like a therapeutic type deal, to just give my thoughts about the world of entertainment, the state of the world of entertainment, and yeah, and I just want to kind of be a different voice out there on the internet. And I'm not trying to be a scholar or a professional here. I'm just a dude who enjoys movies and shows and just wants to spread that passion with the world, and just tell people how I'm feeling, and just to have people maybe open their eyes a little bit, and hopefully it's made an impression, and if not, you guys do you. Alright, so thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.